Welcome to Indie Business Club, the podcast for independent creatives, freelancers, founders and business owners. She's Mel Barfield.
And he's Ben McKinney, and we're both copywriters and business owners sharing tips and advice we've picked up along the way.
This special episode is filmed in front of a live studio audience. And because we're recording from the seaside, the theme of this show is Let's Go Surfing. Thank you to Mark Masters of You Are The Media for allowing us to close out Creator Day week. And thanks to the Creator Day audience for joining us. Give us another whoop, guys.
Yes! Right, don't overdo that, please. No more whoops allowed. All right.
Just one more.
Maybe a few. And on this special Q&A episode of the show, we'll answer questions from listeners about all things indie business. Regular listeners will know we normally have a voice note and a feature called Your Friend and Mine. There's no voice note today because it's a live episode and our friends of the show are everyone in this room.
Mel, you asked for questions on LinkedIn and you got a lot of replies, and we've got some questions as well from the audience.
I did, and I've just realised that the first one we're starting with sounds a bit depressing, but we'll read it out anyway because she's a lovely woman. She's a friend of the show. Robyn Santa Maria asks, what do you do, or who do you turn to for advice when you feel like you want to burn everything to the ground and start again? As I said online, Robyn, I'm sorry that you felt like that. And at the same time, I can think most people can relate to that feeling of like, maybe I should just start all over again. Maybe I should go and get a proper job. Dun, dun, dun.
Do you ever have a proper job?
I know you haven't.
Do you ever have that thought, like, it's time to go and get a proper job again?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. I do understand the appeal, and I favour a portfolio career, Ben, which is where you have little bits of different things, and then if one thing drops off, you're not absolutely screwed. I see full-time employment, no offence if you've got any employeds in the room or listening, full-time employment is putting all your eggs in one basket, and I don't think I'd ever do that again.
I think I've said on the show before, my wife used to call February my John Lewis month, because we'd get through Christmas, get through the new year, and February would always be so miserable. It's the worst month of the year. But then I'd be going, I'm not going to work for myself anymore. I'm just going to go and get a job at John Lewis. And then I have said it on the show because you told me that I'd be lucky to get a job at John Lewis, which was unkind.
I actually then said they'd be lucky to have you. My point was that I used to work with young people who'd think it would be really easy to get just a retail job or a job at McDonald's, and actually they have high standards.
They do. It's all about the staff discount, of course, at John Lewis. Anyway, let's answer Robyn's question. Robyn, are you okay? I hope so. And the answer that I would give is, it's things like this. It's things like today. So it's the community that you build around you when freelancing. So it's easy to point here to Mark and You Are The Media. We've got Steve in the audience from Being Freelance. And then to kind of, not to blow our own trumpet, but things like podcasts where you can get involved. So podcasts like ours, podcasts like Creatives Like Us. It's surrounding yourself with a network of people that you can reach out to easily, and even better if they can notice that you're not feeling your best or that you're not kind of doing your...
Sometimes just hearing that other people have felt like that is enough to make you feel, at least I'm not alone in this. But I think you should absolutely listen to your gut, though. If you feel like that and you keep feeling like that, then you really should change something. Absolutely change something, because if having that feeling for a sustained period of time is not healthy.
Yeah.
But maybe there are tweaks. Maybe do burn it. Burn it to the ground, and then look like that meme of the little girl smirking at the camera with the burning building in the background. Just get rid. But that's the beauty of modern life. You couldn't really start something online up to that long ago. It's quite a recent thing to be able to, dare I say, and do not put a sound effect in, pivot later life, and change direction completely. So if you've got a freelance business, then we've seen several people we know have done this recently, have kind of shifted slightly what they're offering, and you can just do it. You can just say, I'm offering this thing now. But this is where having that showing up consistently online and building a network of people who know you is important, because if you do then shift what you're offering, you've still got an audience. They might have followed you for one reason, but they're not necessarily just going to completely abandon you if you shift what you're offering in your business. They're still there with their network for you to kind of access support from and potentially clients from. I don't know. It's a big question. Why did we put that one first?
It was the first question that came in, so I think we were just happy to have a question, to be honest.
Robyn,
with you.
email us. Let's have a
Yeah,
we'll have
let
a
us know
Zoom.
you're okay, Robyn.
I think she's got, it's that she's a copywriter, so perhaps this might be slightly AI related. I think lots of copywriters have found a challenge, and I think in our situation, the best thing you can then do is find what is the unique selling point what you can offer that the Chat GPT and stuff doesn't. So not necessarily a case of burning everything to the ground, but perhaps repositioning slightly and tweaking or narrowing in. Sometimes it feels like you should then go, oh, I can do this and I can do that and I can do everything for you. But at that point, if you're frustrated in what you're offering, perhaps going deeper and focusing in more on a particular niche is an idea.
Yeah, we talk a lot about goal setting on the show as well, and it might be that if there isn't any goals set ahead, it might be that you've achieved something and then haven't set a kind of a follow-on goal, or it might just be that the goal has always been just to work, and maybe that's not specific enough to motivate you in the way that it used to be, or maybe your circumstances have changed and your goals need to shift as well. So might kind of recommend to look there, but yeah, hope you're okay.
I think your
Robyn.
first answer was the
communities one. It's important, and it's easy to answer on a day like today, where we've had a really brilliant event yesterday and we've been in the sea this morning with everybody, and I don't know, it just feels great to be together, doesn't it? And then
we want to be together. Sorry, that's a very...
And kill that bit.
Do not kill that bit. That's a niche reference that the older ones in the crowd will know.
I don't know, it's just the glow from this will last with me for like months going forward. And I had loads of ideas yesterday. There were loads of things in the talks which made me think about stuff that I'm planning in the future and kind of refine it and think that's a good idea, that applies to me. So, yeah, if you can surround yourself with people like that, then it, I don't know, kind of keeps you going, doesn't it?
Do you know what I do if I have a crap day? Just probably send you a voice note. Or send Bonnie a voice note, or Ange and Molly, and just go, oh, I'm actually really, I had a rough day for these reasons. Anyway, moving on, we have a question from the room. It is your friend of mine, and friend of the show, and friend of everyone in the room. It's Mark Basters. Mark, would you like to come on up? Come on up!
So question to the podcast hosts is, my biggest problem is always being on. And how do you manage that? Thank you, please.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Please sit down.
Thank you, Mark. We had a question in from LinkedIn as well, from Seyam Hamed, who asked something very similar. How do you actually rest without the guilt? I feel like you're, for once, maybe not as good as this at this as me.
Well, I was going to say, I don't feel guilty when I work. Loads.
So you are better than me then.
I just don't feel guilty. I mean, that's the key. Now, we talked a lot before about how there's this magic idea that you can have work-life balance, and I don't think it's something that's achievable completely for most freelancers, because especially if you started your own business because you really enjoy what you're doing and you get excited about it and you have loads of ideas, then it's not. I don't feel guilty about working in the evenings when it's not impacting anyone but my health. And so yeah, I don't feel guilty about it, but it is hard to switch off. If we go away on holiday and I'm supposed to not be doing any work, but I kind of want to do work, then it is a problem. But I don't feel guilty about working in the evenings and stuff if everyone else in the house is happy.
I feel like I needed this question because I don't think I've been very good at this recently either, Mark. I feel like I've been on for like 2 years, and actually switching off has been really challenging. But when I think back to probably like 3 years ago, when I had what I felt was a really good work-life balance, what made it that way was simply being intentional about it. Say simply, that's not always easy to do, but so I knew that I'd probably tipped over the edge in terms of balance at that point, and so I set the goal of having a 4-day working week, and it didn't feel achievable to start with, but by having the goal, actually things fell into place quite quickly. and that made a massive difference.
You also had one less child, fewer.
I did
one
have one
fewer
fewer child, it's
I should
true,
say.
but yeah, so that things did fall into place and it became achievable. And I don't think that would be achievable now. I was just thinking about this before we started recording, that could I have that goal again? And I don't think I could now, but I can have the goal of planning in breaks, and I'd never do that either. I'm rubbish at like booking a holiday ahead.
You've only just started putting an out of office on when you're out of office. Did you do it for this week?
No, I didn't this week. I've done it for something that's happening in about 3 weeks' time. Hey, look, one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. Baby steps, baby steps.
I did get an email which needed action this morning. I was really annoyed with myself for not setting an out of office. But yeah, planning. So I'm rubbish at planning in holidays. I'm rubbish at planning in breaks. They can happen spontaneously, but as things get really busy, it just happens less and less. It's less likely to happen. So I think I'm going to take your question, and it's not a great answer, but the goal for me is to go away from this and to think, can we book a holiday for later in the year where it's, it's not going to be next week or next month, but can we book something for either later in the year or even early next year? Because then it's booked in and set, and I know then that, well, I've got a break. And in
Mark
the meantime,
would say you should come to beautiful Poole for a seaside holiday, wouldn't he?
Well, maybe we'll be back next May for Creator Day 2026. But I think that's important for me. And in the meantime, I've talked in a previous episode, I started using a little brick for my phone. It's where I physically in the evenings brick my phone where I can't access certain apps. And that sounds incredibly sad. And it's,
we said that this morning.
somebody in their mid-40s shouldn't need that kind of technology to be able to put the phone down and leave it. But work does take over, and because it's so easily accessible, it's there all the time. That has made a really big difference. That reduced my screen time, and it means that I don't then check. I'll go the weekend without looking at emails, or go the weekend without checking LinkedIn or work stuff. So those are the things that have worked for me on a small level, but it is a constant battle, and I think it's probably a constant battle for most people if they work for themselves.
I think with your situation, Mark, as well, you run a community that is always, and Steve as well, it's always on. It is always on. So the thing that is your work or part of your work is always on. So you can't, so where I might book in some project work and then have a buffer between to kind of decompress and stuff. If you've got people commenting in the Circle app and asking questions in there, there's that feeling of responsibility. You are I was going to say supreme leader. I know you don't see yourself as that. That's perhaps the wrong term. But you feel a responsibility for everyone. And so to switch off from that, you're like work dad to everyone. So to then take time away from that, you perhaps need to have trusted delegates who can take over monitoring the online channels, or to have somebody that you can have as your super sub. And Steve, I know you've had Thomas Pauly has taken over running the Friday co-work for you sometimes. So having those like super subs in your business is really important. The people that you can say, look, I'm going to need to take some time off. Can you step in for me doing X, Y, Z? If it's not in your power to kind of completely stop what you're doing, then having other people to refer work onto is really a really good idea.
Even then, though, it's not easy because you put so much, when you run your own business, you put so much of yourself into a business that even if you bring somebody in, it can be hard still then to give them the space to do things.
Delegate.
Not to feel like you have to, I'm not even saying micromanage, but like just be there, or I'll be there in case they need me while they're doing this thing, which then kind of, that's against the point of it really, isn't it? It should be something where you can bring somebody in to give you a break and to step back. So yeah, it's, like I say, really challenging for almost every business owner here, I would imagine, would say something similar.
Yeah, and then there's other options of if you're always behind on your emails, get in a VA like Erin, who's in the room. Hi, Erin, and have them take on some of the tasks that you can delegate. I find it difficult to delegate stuff because often I feel like, I'll just, especially if it was like Canva or something, I'll just do it really quickly myself. But if you're constantly finding that you're behind in a certain area of your business, then maybe there's something that can be either automated or delegated to someone else. But yeah, we have differing work-life balance views, I think, because I don't see it as much of a problem for me because it isn't. Whereas I think you.
Yeah, I think that's just different family circumstances, though. That bit, isn't
you've got
it?
younger children as well.
In the past, I've been the same as you. Like, I'll have time with the family during the day, and then think I'm really happy to do those bits of admin in the evening or a bit of creative work or whatever. But I can't do it now because I'm like, just with everything going on, I'm too knackered at the end of the day to do it. So it just I keep saying to myself like, I'll do that tonight, and then and thinking there's no way this is going to happen, Ben. So
you tell yourself that you're going to do it later.
So it's not only is it difficult, it is a constant shift because you have to react to what's going on in your personal life as well. But
and keep reassessing how.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was a particularly good answer there, Mark. We've gone around the houses and come back to we all find it really difficult.
But delegate.
Let's get another one in from LinkedIn, and this leads on from Mark's question. This is from friend of the show, Raymond Manzor, who says, where do you focus your efforts when there are 29 things you could do right now?
Bold of Ray to assume that I do focus my efforts.
Yeah, I feel seen with this question.
Well, we have so many ideas all the time, don't we? Especially for the podcast. And often we end up going, yeah, maybe when things have quietened down. And then
things are going to quieten down in about 2 weeks' time, and then I'll have a little clear week.
The constant thing is that we think we're only
something.
ever 2 weeks away from a quiet time, and it never comes. So yeah, it's challenging because the temptation is to go after the thing that is the most fun. But when you're running the business, you really have to be honest with yourself about what is finding the thing that's going to be a mix of really fun and make you happy that you're still doing this, self-employed thing, but also brings in the money. Because if you follow all the fun things, that doesn't always end up making good business sense. So how do you evaluate whether something's a good idea to follow, Ben?
Well, I mean, focus is the key word in a number of different ways, I suppose, because I think you've got to focus on what the goal is of your business, and we've talked that's different for everybody. It might be growth, it might be earning more money, but it might be having more time and almost shrinking things a little bit. So I think you have to evaluate what you want from your business and what it's doing for you, how it serves you. And when you're really clear on that, and again, that shifts as well with different family circumstances and the way that work works and the way the outside kind of influences on your business have an effect. You have to continually evaluate that to then be able to think what is then going to serve the business the most. So how do I want the business to serve me? But also then what do I need to do to make sure that those things work and that can happen?
Also asking people that know you well. So I've been thinking about this thing, and they will tell you quickly whether they like, is that really where you should be? Are you sure? What are you thinking? What's the reasoning? So yeah, that's something I find really valuable, and I often say that I've got more colleagues now as a freelancer than I ever had when I was employed, because there's so many people I could be like, I've just got this idea, can I just run it past you and see what you think?
And this despite never giving you a mobile number out. It's amazing.
Quiet you. Right, moving on. Felicity Wild asks, hi Felicity, what do clients actually want and need right now?
Don't know. Don't know, you're beating us.
Well, I thought, obviously ask them if you can, but the problem is often they don't know. So that's where having some sort of consultancy type offer, so a lot of people have power hours, or I know with Copy or Die, there's the option of like a quite full-on briefing service where it's almost like a consultancy situation where you help the client get to what the brief is, or lots of freelancers have the one-to-one power hour type situation. What they actually want and what they actually need can be two very different things, and we often talk about the employee mindset where you think you have to just be like, yes boss, I'll do whatever you want me to say, yes, yep. But really, if you're there as a consultant, then you owe it to them to tell them what, from the outside looking in, what they actually need. What do you think, and Felicity's a copywriter, can we go on a tiny copywriter detour? What do you think copywriting clients need the most at the moment? What are you finding?
And then they want speed and they want it cheap, unfortunately, which is really difficult, and that's demoralising for people who put a lot of effort into their work and are really skilled, like Felicity. I don't know, I think it's such a hard question to answer, but it's probably not it's like the effect rather than the root. So with a question like this, we've just done an episode on testimonials, and we touched on how important getting testimonials is, not only to use in your marketing, but also to kind of take the temperature of your clients and work out exactly, in their words, exactly why they came to you and what you do for them, which is good. So I'd say it's probably, if you're asking a question like this, do you need to go back to your most recent clients, talk to them and get some testimonials and really work out why they came to you in the first place? Because then you can do the thing of tailoring your marketing in that way. And in terms of what they need right now, like you say, I think a lot of people feel like they need stuff, but they want something different.
Yeah.
And this is where being known for something comes in, isn't it? And that's not it doesn't answer the question, because if you're known for something, it can be then really frustrating if you built either your business brand or your personal brand in a certain way. You become known for something, but then you still don't get those leads in, because there's nothing more demoralising for a small business owner, is there? If you've done that, you've put all the effort in, spent some money on branding, done your website, perhaps done what we were talking about with Robyn earlier, and maybe shifted your focus in a certain way. If then something doesn't come in, you can feel like giving up. But I think it's about going back and seeing why people use you and what they're saying about you, what's good.
Yeah, and
because other people, what's worked once will work always, effectively, and whatever they say, you can then tie into your own thing.
Yeah, and keeping in touch with other people in the same industry as you and kind of sharing.
Yeah, you're much better at this than me as well. That's
seeing what the temperature of the industry is. Shall we move on to another question from the room?
Question from the room. Is it Christine?
I feel like you should have
Christine Gritman, everybody.
Let's just do this. Now a question from Christine Gritman.
So this is something that a lot of freelancers face and small business owners. How do you decide when free work is worth it?
I have quite strong opinions on working for free, because some people say you should never, ever, ever, ever do it. But some of the best stuff in my business has come out of me doing things unpaid. Unpaid sounds better than free.
Yeah, definitely.
Because free makes me sound worthless. Things like speaking for free, which I know Christine has, we both do speaking engagements and stuff. It depends on the audience. So, for example, I spoke at Brighton SEO last year, and someone in the audience then booked me for work. So, though technically the event isn't a paid gig for speakers, you get treated very well, and then there's a direct pipeline that I could relate back to that exact event. It obviously raises your profile. I think it depends on the nature of it, because if you're there's a difference between choosing to work unpaid on something because it's going to benefit you in different ways, and being asked to do some work unpaid. Like a lot of recruitment processes now will have a test piece in there, and I think people should be asking, well, is that paid? Because what we don't want is a situation where somebody's profiting off you working unpaid and you don't actually get anything back. So it depends entirely on the nature of it, I think. And I think some people are funny about it because they think we should always be paid for what we do. But we do so much marketing for it. We make the podcast without being paid for it. We go on LinkedIn and post things on LinkedIn without being paid for it. And that's all we see that as part of our broader marketing, and because we find it fun. Well, you don't find the LinkedIn part fun. Hopefully you find the podcast a bit fun.
I find the podcast fun.
So good. So if it's just an extension of that, it's an extension of working for free technically, but it's marketing you in some way, then I think it's valuable, as long as it's to the right kind of audience. If I was asked to speak at the, what's that example we always use? Concrete Expo, Concrete Con.
Oh yeah, Concrete Con. That's one of our goals, is to get into
Concrete Con,
like an
unpaid.
a highly paid industry gig. And Concrete Con is the one we've got our eyes on. For some
reason. we want paid speaking gigs at Concrete Con, because if we get paid for it, we don't care that that's not our audience. But if it was an unpaid speaking gig at Concrete Con, I'd probably give it a miss, unless they could throw in I don't think I need anything concreted at the moment. Do you? You probably do. You're always doing DIY stuff.
I do actually. Yeah, could do with a foundation for a little office.
But that's an unplanned smooth segue too. Skill swaps as another way of kind of working for free. You just got to make sure before you start on the skill swap that you're both on the same page about how much, whether you're swapping equal time with one another, because one of you might have a higher day rate than the other person. So that's another way that you can kind of technically work for free, but you're getting something in return. So I just think you've got to evaluate what you're getting in return and weigh up whether you're happy with the payoff, or conversely the risk. So if you go to an event that in theory has loads of your ideal customer in the audience, and to keep using speaking as an example because it's kind of the easiest one, there's no guarantee that anyone in the audience is actually going to work with you. So you've got to kind of roll the dice and decide whether it's worth the risk. And the other thing you've said before is about invoicing with like a discount. So it's you put in what the price would have been.
Yeah.
And then you put a line of like discounted and then take it off. So the invoice is £0, but they then see what the value is that you.
Yeah, you're showing your value by doing that. It's a really tricky one, and I think in the past I've been completely the opposite to you and have thought, no way, I wouldn't do anything for free. I think it depends.
Ben doesn't get out of bed for less than £1,000.
I think it depends on a couple of factors, like where you are in your career. So it might be that when you start out, you're encouraged to work for free to get an opportunity, or you might see things like, this is a good opportunity, we can't pay for this one, but there'll be work in the future which you can be paid for. That to me is a big red flag. And we had a voice note in the pricing episode, which came out a few episodes ago, from Phil Budd, a business coach. And he mentioned in that one that while the intention is often good, actually doing that early on in your career can do more harm than good, because you are immediately lowering your own value in your own eyes and in your client's eyes. So even if that particular client then does go on to bring you some paid work, are you able to price your normal rate, or are they still in control of the rates and how the relationship goes? So that's a really tricky one. I think you've summed it up really well. There's got to be something in it for you. I think you can usually tell when someone or a business is on the make, or whether they're actually interested in a partnership. The conference talked a lot yesterday about partnerships, and a strategic partnership can be built from a relationship where no money is exchanged, and it can work really well for both people. And I like unpaid is better than free. That's a really good little soundbite. That's a nice way of doing it. I would be open to it depending on circumstances, and like you've said, there's got to be something that you can come away from it. And free means money, doesn't it? Whereas actually it can be you either get something from it or you get some exposure. I don't like saying, I've just kind of contradicted myself there, I don't like saying do stuff for exposure. We're doing things for exposure, but on our own terms.
Now.
Yeah, but it's on our own terms, isn't it?
That's because we love you.
The audience, we love the audience. It's just really important to kind of work that out in your own mind. But I think the important thing from my point of view is that you wouldn't ever be completely in somebody's pocket, they are then setting all the expectations, all the boundaries, they're setting all the rules, as it were, of the relationship. That doesn't work when it comes to
a lot of the
equitable partnership.
The voices saying don't work for free are really established people, I find. And they don't need to work for free because they're already known in their industry and they've got tons of experience. I think if you're starting out and you want to do a little bit of portfolio piece, a bit of speculative work to show what you can do, then it can plug a gap. If you don't have a particular piece of work in your portfolio from a certain industry that you want to work in, then doing something for free can give you a massive boost in that way.
Yeah. It's completely it's only probably not only, but it's this kind of industry, isn't it? You wouldn't do it to a builder wouldn't do it. You wouldn't come and say, well, I need a wall built around the whole house.
Can you build the first wall for free so I can see if it's any good?
And then there'll probably be some more work. You can't do it in that. It's only in this scenario. So you can't do it at the shops. You can't say, I'm going to take this and I'll come back and buy something else later. It's a strange little thing that's in this industry, but I'd lean towards not doing it, to be honest with you, still.
Well, you don't have any time.
I'm lucky enough to not have any time to do free work. So, it's a difficult one, Christine. But let's move on to another question from LinkedIn. This is from Grace Hall. Hello, Grace.
Hi, Grace.
How do you secure steady retainer work at a time when every man, his dog, his cat, and his will to live have in-house support, or a reluctance towards ongoing work partnerships? Rolling on the laughing floor emoji face.
Rolling on the laughing floor. Is that what you said?
Isn't that what it's called?
Aww. Roll on the floor laughing.
That's what I said.
Rewind the tape. That's a tricky question that I don't necessarily have the answer to, but I can say how my retainer work has come along. So I have 3 retainers, and one has been going for a year and a half now, I think. And that came to me because somebody I know was doing the email strategy for somebody, and they needed a writer for the emails. So that was my network paying off. And so she brought me in. Hello, Mel 1. She's Mel 1, I'm Mel 2. And another came about through me knowing the client really well, just in this kind of environment, just getting to know people. And they needed it's being the right person at the right time. They needed someone. We've got a rolling retainer now. And then Copy or Die is my third one. And again, I just know you, and it's hard. That's just I don't have any real answers other than to say to revisit the people who, this isn't how I've done it, but revisit the people you've already done work for and see whether they'd be up for it. I think it's easier to convert someone that you've already won over in the past and done a good job for. People are going to be reluctant, I guess, at the moment to commit to long-term expenditure.
Yeah.
And they like the idea of dipping in and out of having a freelancer rather than committing to a long-term thing. But you can prove what the value is of what you're bringing versus, or like the cost of you versus a full-time employee, without, because you don't bring all the on costs as a retained worker. They don't have to pay your pension. They don't have to pay for you to go on holiday. So you can make a financial argument with them, but I don't know. I don't know if I have any other answers for Grace, really, about finding retainers.
There was an outstanding LinkedIn post about a week ago that if I'd been really prepped, I would have saved and referenced. But I'll do that in the show notes in the email.
Don't say you're going to put something in the show notes because we always forget. Right, make a note. Someone in the room, can you text Ben?
It was a lady showing her value
remind him?
from a retainer. So she listed the cost of her retainer.
Okay.
And then broke down the difference that retainer added up over a year was compared to having a full-time employee doing the same role.
Nice.
And it was just superbly done in terms of showing actually when you bring in a retainer client kind of how valuable that is. I think with your examples, all 3 are from personal relationships that you've developed by being yourself online, isn't it? And using your personal brand to shorten the gap between the people that might work with you, and there's a lot of people then that might not, but those, in terms of those 3 clients, it was probably an easy decision to bring you in. Certainly from the Copy or Die side of things, when we were looking, we had a role that we felt that was coming up, and it was an easy decision to ask you if you wanted to do it, because we knew that you would be really good to work with. We knew that you would be really good to do the job, and it was, and you didn't have to go out and didn't have to recruit, didn't have to go all through those.
We already
didn't have
had
to put
a WhatsApp group,
exactly.
so you didn't even have to set that up.
That would be the only way that we could point, certainly from a long-term thing, to Grace. But I don't know, sometimes just telling people that's what you want to do works as well.
Yeah.
Like being really intentional about it, and putting out posts regularly saying this is what I can do and this is what I need, this is what I want to do, and this is what I can offer.
Some people choose to offer a favourable rate to people that they have a retainer arrangement with. But we have spoken about that did we do an entire episode on retainers?
Not on retainers, but we talked about it in the pricing issue.
We'll do
Are you talking about actually charging more for a retainer than
because Jonathan Wilcock, friend of the show, hi Jonathan, said that in theory you should be charging more for a retained. Like if you say you do a day rate, you should charge more for that because it stops you if you had, say, 2 days a week, you can't then take on bigger, sexier projects if you wanted to. So it's clipping your wings in some ways to have a retainer, which was an excellent point.
Yeah, it's
not sure
reframing
in today's economy.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's reframing the arrangement, isn't it? In the way that would put the freelancer almost in a little bit more control and a bit more charge, which I'm all for. And that kind of blew my mind when he said it, because I've never really worked on retainer with clients as a freelancer, so I can't speak from loads of experience, but I remember when I first started marketing myself and saying that, I think I had a rate card on my website and saying that it would be 10% cheaper if you worked on a retainer for like 6 months, or at least. So, yeah, it's an interesting one.
It is an interesting
Not sure
one.
if we helped there, Grace, sorry.
Sorry, Grace. Just tell people that you want a retainer, though. That is a good...
Yeah.
If you haven't already, tell people you want one. Should we open the...
Yeah, I think we've got
the
time for one more
questions out.
question, haven't we? Has anybody
Or
on the
two,
in
or
the,
two.
in the floor?
Well, have you
Anybody
got
on
a
the
train to
floor?
catch?
No, I haven't. But we've got a question from the audience from Rachel Extons.
I was re-listening back to episode, I think it was 8 recently, where you were talking about business plans. And one of the things that you spoke about was market research. And we all know the theory of market research. Obviously, we know we should be doing it. But what have you two done in terms of market research, or where do you suggest people start if they're either just starting out in a business, or maybe they are, I'm going to use the pivot word, maybe they are adjusting their audience, or they want to move into a new area? And what would you do about market research?
Thank you very much. I didn't clap you in. Sorry, I clapped you out instead. Ben, market research. Discuss.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Mel, for passing this on to me. I think it's probably, depending on whether you're a solo freelancer and that's what you're going for, or whether you're building a business and you're under a brand name, probably the first thing for the solo freelancer would be really kind of lame answer in a way, but like LinkedIn is probably the best place, because you'll get an idea of who is doing what you are either doing or want to do. You might be inspired to change by people that you've seen on there and doing things like that. You also get the instant feedback of comments. So not only do you see what people are doing, you get the views of those people from their network, and that can help you in turn to build your own network, because you can see the kind of people that you would perhaps want to try and connect with and reach out to. If it's for a business, then the way we've done it in the past, so with Copy or Die, when we were setting up, we had about 4 different search terms that we reckoned related to what we wanted to do, and we just went out and Googled a load. And it's interesting because we found we were kind of pleased. I think we felt like we'd hit something good, because there wasn't loads of what we felt was direct competition. There were people doing it in a way that we didn't want to do, so that was quite valuable for a start in terms of validating what we thought we wanted to be. But what's interesting is that now we've found a few different companies recently that just didn't show up on those search terms when we were starting out. That's 2 years ago where we did that. So actually looking at those now is an interesting way of looking at it and thinking, why aren't they showing up? So it's almost just reversing what we're looking for.
It.
So that reversing that market research and thinking, what are they doing, which means they don't show up and we couldn't find them when we were looking, because we were specifically looking for what they do. So that is good. It's later on in the process, but it's still been useful. But yeah, at the start of it all, I think the one danger we found was when you look at what other people do, you can then really zone in and think, I have to do it this way. But we had, in our minds, we had what we wanted to be as like the overarching narrative of it all. So this is what we want to be. How are other people doing it? And then rather than having that at the top, we didn't want to use people as inspiration. We wanted to use people as almost to like, right, we're not going to do things that way. We're not going to do things that way. Because we wanted to find our own little niche. But if you didn't want that, if you wanted to be, I want to be like this person, or I want to be like that brand, that's just as valuable, because you're just doing it the other way around. You're looking at them saying, what are they doing and what can I imitate or copy? And even saying that, I think some people would think, why would you want to copy another business? But if you're a freelancer, you're never really copying, because you're bringing things to the table from your perspective. So actually just seeing how they've accessed that and what angle they've taken, you can still bring your own perspective to it and do it that way. I don't know if that helps. But.
On the subject of Googling stuff, Google Trend, I can't think what they're actually called, but you can search for how popular search terms have been across the years. So you can look at the trend report on certain keywords that you think are relevant to your business and see what the search activity is on that, and see whether there's a downward trend for that thing. Reddit, lots of people I know love Reddit for a bit of market research and customer research.
And I remember thinking that might be something that we could look at for Indie Business Club in terms of getting...
The danger is you go down a rabbit hole about alternative theories on why... There's a random one about Lord of the Rings where the theory that Frodo doesn't know Legolas's name because he never says it, and he looks surprised when he sees him and stuff. These are the really, really niche rabbit holes you risk potentially falling down if you go on somewhere like Reddit. Just want to warn you. I know that's not your niche interest, so it won't. You're immune.
I am thinking about it now.
You're thinking about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bit at the end where he says everyone's name but his as well. This is the theory.
It's blowing my mind a
anyway.
little bit. Conspiracy theory here.
I know that John, who's in the audience, is here for this kind of chat, I'm sure. Anyway, so yeah, looking at the keyword trends, looking on Reddit, and speaking to other people in your industry as well about how they're finding certain, like if there might be that their clients have suddenly stopped asking for a certain service and want something different. And that's where being a member of community, we talked about communities already, being members of communities can be good because you can see what's going on in your industry from other people's perspectives. And for us as copywriters, Pro Copywriters has an annual survey that's really, really useful for getting quite specific data on what kind of activity people are getting up to in their work, which can be useful. The thing with market research is if you find that, oh, this is great, no one else is doing this thing, like maybe what you don't see is that hundreds of people that have tried and failed at doing it because nobody actually wants that thing. So it could be a double-edged sword finding that, oh, we've got this really cool idea and no one else is doing it. It's like, if you can find ways to dig into why no one else is doing it and, not just tell yourself, it's because no one else thought of it and I'm amazing, then that's probably valuable time spent.
Yeah, we had an idea for something recently to do with Indie Business Club, didn't we? And we got an outside perspective. We were really like, wow, we've had this great idea. This is going to be something good. And then we had a little outside perspective where somebody asked us, we didn't know him, we were in a little kind of roundtable session, said, does anybody want this?
Yes.
It was a real eye-opening moment, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah, maybe not, actually. Maybe that's why it doesn't exist in the first place.
And what's the evidence that people actually want? Oh, we don't have any.
Yeah, we don't have any. So that was good because that gave us we now need to go and get that evidence.
It was very humbling.
That's the important thing about outside perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you get so one-eyed when you're working on your own business, and it's so hard to see it when you're working in the business all the time. But you don't want that outside perspective just to be a cheerleading pat on the back. Come on, yes, you can. Of course, you can do it. It wants to be valuable, and it needs to have some kind of context as well.
You need to have business friends who will tell you, will hold your hand and say, "Darling, that's a terrible idea. Yeah. Do not do that." And yeah, luckily, I've got several of my people that will do that for me are in the room. So thank you, thank you for your brutal honesty, and in keeping me on the straight and narrow with my business.
Okay. Mel,
are you going to say your magic words?
I think that'll do for today. Thanks to Foundry Poole for providing the amazing recording space that we're in. Thanks to Josh Nell for sorting out all the tech and looking after us so well.
Woo!
There are co-working locations across the country. If you go to foundryuk.com, you can find your nearest one. And let me leave by saying, if you're enjoying the show, please rate us 5 stars and leave us a review wherever you listen to Indie Business Club. Everybody in the room has to get out their phone, and you can't leave until you've proved that you've done it. That is.
We're not going to check. We're not going to check.
Kind of a joke, sort of.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
And thank you to our live audience for being here. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Right, we'll stop that. Ow, stop. You're so cute.
That's really well done. I didn't really want it to end. I felt a bit bad wrapping up, but it's so good.
It's good fun.
Oh, it's awesome. Thanks for coming, John.
Thank you, John.
It's lovely having you sat in the front row. There's a podcaster with us.
Multiple podcasters in the room.